Why do you think humor enhances the storytelling experiences?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think humor is universal. It's a universal human thing. Like, we love to laugh. We love to cry, we love to laugh, right? We want to be on some spectrum of emotions. Very rarely are we ever just non-emotional, right? Humor it's a great bonding, it's universal. When we laugh together, it creates a bonding experience. So, and laughter through tears, as Lynne says, is
Emotion.
yeah.
I think
It's
that
cathartic.
if I think about the best storytellers in my life growing up, they always had humor involved. Like humor with a message sometimes. Like my dad is the king of humor with a message, you know, and he makes really bad dad jokes. So, you know, but I think humor also gives something that people can relate to. So it is universal, but it also brings someone in. And when you're trying to tell tough stories sometimes with lots of emotion, you find that sometimes having a shared laughter moment also can break some tension in there.
Yeah, it breaks tension, levels the playing field. Humor also creates tension. That's what's funny, right? So the science of humor is like a joke. You set up the joke, and then there's tension that's not resolved until the punchline. So storytelling is about the resolution. When we set up humor, we're waiting, and that laugh is the release of the tension. The laugh is the engagement with the story. So if you don't have humor, or you don't have the opposite, because I don't want to say crying or sadness, right?
Drawing people to emotion, let's
Right,
say.
exactly. And that tension where we live, we want to resolve that. So.
And good storytelling, the point of a good story is to make people act or change their behavior.
Correct.
So if humor elicits laughter, then I've changed my mood or my momentary outlook from regular to now I'm laughing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so how can humor help foster connections and inspire engagement in fundraising efforts?
I think we don't use humor in fundraising enough. I love that our work impacts people in a very transformational way, but I often find that we take ourselves too seriously sometimes. I get to watch a lot of nonprofit videos, and they're very serious. Or if we all recall the Sarah McLachlan, ASPCA, can we have some funny? Like, can we look at Pixar? They make an entire industry out of having fun, whether it be surface level fun or also deeper meaning. And people want to have fun and engage and learn. And I think humor needs to be brought into nonprofit and work and fundraising, especially. Like, if you've got something that tickles me, if you've got something that makes me really think, it also makes me think of another person who would enjoy it. When I'm made sad, I don't always think, oh, I should share this sad thing with someone.
Right, and we talk so much about storytelling need to draw on emotions and, tell sad stories, and that's what engages donors, the sad, all of that. There is nothing funny about the causes that we as fundraisers live with and work with. There's nothing funny about homelessness, hunger, social, all of the things, right? There's nothing funny about a kid that needs a scholarship. So I think we have to be respectful of it in the use of it, but fundraising is about joy. We're standing in the gap between people and situations that need help and the people that can and want to help. So there's a joy there that when we're engaging with donors, can we laugh at the silliness of the things that we have to do? Can we bring donors into that side of the work of, we've created a little joy here, let's laugh about it together, let's enjoy it together, and understand that in that humor, we're making real good happen.
Also, I think the shops that have joy and that have humor, like I've worked in lots of different environments, they raise more money.
It comes across.
People who have fun at work raise more money. People who are better at work and you can see the difference between a shop that is very quiet and subdued and very serious, and that's lovely some days, but if you're not having fun in the office or on Zoom or something, it makes it very hard to do very difficult work.
Yeah, and it's time and place too.
It is a time.
Of course it is.
Right. You wouldn't want to do it right in the middle of a testimonial, but one of the funniest videos we did was just a blooper reel. But it was a blooper reel of the executive director and the campaign chair, and they were going through thanking all these corporate donors and just mispronouncing the names of these big corporations, and it was funny, and people laughed about it, but it wasn't self-deprecating, but it was, hey, we're laughing. We're not laughing at the mission. It was almost separate from the
laughing
mission.
at our humanness, right? Yeah,
Well, but
we're laughing
Brings
at
us
them.
down to earth.
Yeah.
It brings it down to earth, and it's the humanness that connects people. And even in telling beneficiary stories, I don't know that I have ever interviewed or done a beneficiary story or talked with them that something humorous hasn't come up, even in the worst kinds of situations. Our beneficiaries see the humor in their own situations. They can laugh at certain things that happen, even at this just terrible time in their lives, or this terrible
Absurd.
and the absurdity of it. I don't know that I've ever not found some level of something to laugh at or laugh with, right? And yeah, I mean, well, like the story I tell all the time when one of my first digital campaigns, I sent the test email 13 times before I sent the real live email, right? And I had one donor that was mad, but out of 2,000, that was the only one. And we just turned it into a funny thing, like, oops, sorry.
I'm going to send the test one more time.
Right, and just owned it,
Yeah.
which of course made people go, yep, done the same thing. We've all been there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the podcast. You're
Podcast.
deep into season 2.
Oh, the podcast.
We're knee deep in season 2 of the podcast.
Fundraising is funny.
We thought it was so bad we'd do it again. It's. I have to tell you, when people recognize that we do the podcast and it's funny, and we're not like trying to teach you how to do your job, or, you know, I'm admitting, yeah, I had a donor eat potpourri in an event.
Yeah, right. Right.
And I'm still a successful fundraiser. And
Right.
she didn't die from that. And
I think the one thing that I hear the most, the comment that we get the most is, I thought it was just me.
yeah, I'm not alone.
I'm
Not alone.
and truly, honestly, I mean, so the podcast came about because Lynne and I became really close during the pandemic, and we became a source of support for each other through text and through WhatsApp. And memes, right? And at one point we said, my gosh, we are funny because we are big fans of ourselves.
Yeah.
Right?
It was that self-esteem that was lacking. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
humility.
Confidence. Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? But we went, look, this is funny to us. It might be funny to others. So we thought, well, let's put together a podcast, see what happens. I don't think that I expected necessarily to hear so often people saying, I thought it was just me.
You're my community.
You gave me a space where, oh my gosh, other people have done really silly, embarrassing, frustrating things too. And I tune in and I listen and I laugh and I go, it's not just me. And that has been humbling, really.
It has been humbling, and also I think that people identify that, I may not have had that exact situation.
Right.
Yeah, I've been there. I've sat at my desk
Yeah.
and wondered, what am I doing? And I think in an industry where we are experiencing some hiccups with turnover and culture issues in terms of, do I want to be a fundraiser? This work is hard. And, we did the Barbie monologue this year.
Yep.
You don't even get a medal and you don't get a ribbon, but more people come into our industry because the work we do matters.
Yeah.
And if we can tell fundraisers that through humor, your work matters.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a privilege that we get.
100%.
Being able to talk to people
100%.
that way and like be on their commute or be in their in their ears when they're walking their dog, or when they're having a meltdown at work, like being like, we've had that meltdown. And so
honestly,
it's
this
just
is
a fun little blip.
I've never thought of this until you just said it that way. Like, I think it's the conversation I wanted when I was a frontline fundraiser.
I didn't have enough. I'd get into conferences.
Sure.
And we'd go away.
Sure. Well, I never went to conferences.
Yeah.
Because I worked for organizations that couldn't afford to send. Right. So I didn't have that.
Mine was the bar at conference.
Yep.
Well, and I've told people that's what it feels like.
It is.
That's
what we want.
Yes.
The audio version of it's.
And that's why we do it together.
Sometimes it's 12:30 in the morning at the hotel bar.
Yeah. That's where the best stuff comes out.
That's exactly what we said in the description and in building it. Like, we want this to be the conversation that you have at conferences or in communities, like at the bar where nobody else is listening, and
or as hey,
an uncensored.
can I tell you something?
Right. Yeah.
This happened to me, and I can't believe it. And you're like, yeah, I can.
Yep.
And we want them to understand that they have allies and friends in this that are willing to be vulnerable. I think also, Clay has a brand, I have a brand, whatever word that means today. But to also say, people see me as an expert, but I'm not perfect, and here's why.
Oh my gosh.
Here's all the ways that my days have gone off the rails, and I'm happy and proud to share that with others. And with my bestie.
Yep.
So
And it goes. I love how it goes from humor, and then there's always something where it's almost
punchline.
a turn, a punchline, and then it hits, and you go, okay, like there's a takeaway there that's more than just the humor.
My
Which
boss-
is what.
My boss might actually approve of me listening to this.
Right. I mean, and again, we always want to end with a punchline, with something to take away. Like, there needs to be a point to humor.
Yeah.
Don't just be funny to be funny. Like, and we could do that. We could just sit and tell jokes and be funny.
We do that sometimes.
But if we're going to use humor in storytelling, if we're going to use humor in engagement, there needs to be a point to it that you come away with something. Again, especially in the work that we do, because the work is serious and it is important. And okay, look, nobody's going to die because you don't have clean data. But
I thought you were going to say clean underwear.
well, no.
Well, that's what my mom says. Don't always have clean underwear.
Well, yeah, exactly. I never understood that. See, this is how the podcast goes, right?
Yeah.
Like, I never understood that. Like, if I'm in a wreck, like, I think the last thing they're worried about is my own. But anyway, right? So humor without a point is just humor. It's just, so we'd like to have that punchline, that takeaway, that's something that I can take away and do with it. But if we can approach it through something really funny and create that commonality, then we consider it a good day.
Yeah. So kind of tease people out. What can you share a favorite fundraising is funny story and kind of the message it conveyed?
Wow.
Well, this
Could be
season.
from last season.
This season we haven't released this episode, but may be out there by the time you watch this video. But the Muppets as fundraising architects was probably one of my favorite ones to record, just because it brought back so many good memories of childhood. Because I watched the Muppets, and it was one of the TV shows I was allowed to watch. But also now watching it as an adult, I'm like, whoa, they were on some stuff there.
I mean, not for nothing, Lynne and I in private do call ourselves the Statler and Waldorf of fundraising, like the two old guys in the balcony kind of commenting on everything. Like, but I think the Muppet one was fun.
Yeah, the Muppet one was fun. I also I think from the first season, just holding some people accountable for things that are cringe funny. Right? And saying, this is funny, but is this something that we should be accepting? Is this something that we can speak up and change? And so giving people voice. But also there's a Donor Ate My Potpourri, which is a classic.
Right.
It's like a classic.
I go back to the Barbie monologue, which we set up, right? The rewrite of the Barbie monologue. It's literally impossible to do a fundraiser. But then our first episode of season 2, the Barbie episode, addressing the role of women in philanthropy. So, we're laughing about it. We're hitting the zeitgeist of the Barbie movie and, all of that.
We haven't done the Oppen
That's going to be an interesting episode. Anyway, but being able to talk about, it really is a serious thing. We are not giving enough credence to women in philanthropy, but to laugh about it, to frame it through this popular movie and all of that, but then laugh about it and then come out with that, to me was meaningful.
And as a woman in philanthropy who often gets overlooked, and they say, we'll go to
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I am nothing. Whatever you say, dear.
Yes, dear.
But I think being able to bring societal issues and fundraising issues to the forefront is also something that's, because we do laugh about it, but then we're like, so what are we going to do about it? Because we are privileged enough to have a voice. And so for those that don't have the voice or don't feel that if their organization they can have a voice, maybe they could be like, hey, everybody, let's listen to the podcast here. Whoop, and then play it, and maybe they can affect some change at their work. So
exactly.
Good times.
So where do you want to send people? Where can people find
you can get the podcast on Spotify, Apple. You can go to fundraisingisfunny.com, leave us a note, see all the videos of. I always forget we filmed video.
I always forget, and then I see the post. I'm like, oh my gosh, right?
Yeah, clip of us.
Please don't ever make that face again.
Yeah, well, we are who we are.
We are who we are.
We welcome everyone. We'd love to hear your Fundraising is Funny stories, and we're so grateful to you for helping us tell those stories with humor and aplomb and in an amazing visual way. So thank you.
And it honestly is not about us.
No.
Right? We were very, very conscious that we wouldn't have the podcast. It wouldn't be, I'm so treading carefully because it feels so egotistical in a way. It wouldn't be as popular as it is but we want what people want. What do you want?
What do you want to hear?
So honestly, as we approach through, Lynne doesn't know I'm going to say this is how the podcast works. Like very often it's like, oh my God, what are they going to say next? Right? As we approach, through season 2 and start thinking about next seasons, we really, really want to engage community. We want to hear people's story. We promise to keep them anonymous.
Yeah.
Right? But we know there's more funny stories out there. We know there's more funny things going on. So that's I think the next phase of it is let's tell stories together. Yeah.
A comfy stool at the bar.
A comfy stool at the bar. Yep. Not one of those trendy ones though.
No.
Like big ones on a trendy with the little Yep. Comfy chairs.
Comfy chair.
Comfy chairs.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you
you.
so much.
And thank you for the work you're doing. It matters. It's important. We appreciate it.